A 24-hour dopamine detox won't do anything for you. If you want to experience real benefits, you must do a long-term dopamine detox. I'm talking about for weeks and months. If you're serious about rebalancing your dopamine levels and enjoy your brain's full sensitivity to this molecule, then watch this video until the very end. The substances we're going to talk about in this video are things that when used in excess will mess up your dopamine levels. Some more than others, and that's why I'm organizing them according to the damage that they create. We will be talking about the things you should quit forever if you want to recover your dopamine sensitivity. We are also going to talk about what things can be used once or maybe twice per week. In addition, we're going to talk about what things you can do every single day in moderation. And finally, we will talk about the healthiest sources of dopamine that you can find. Let me be super clear that this arrangement is exclusive for a long-term dopamine detox, which actually is the way it should be. A 24-hour dopamine fast is basically useless. Just as you won't recover from a drug addiction in 24 hours, you won't recover your dopamine sensitivity in the same amount of time. So, the first thing you need to quit forever in order to recover the sensitivity to dopamine is pornography. Pornography is a free on-demand drug that everyone can use. Porn stimulates your brain for the amount of time you want. This leads to insane amounts of dopamine in the brain. As a side effect, your brain will reduce its sensitivity to it just to establish a balance. Pornography also leads to infidelity, it distorts the meaning of sexuality, it leads to erectile dysfunction, it messes with your confidence and self-image, and the detriments go on and on. Moving on, the first thing you have to limit to a weekly basis is anything sweet. We are wired to get addicted to anything that resembles sugar. Insane amounts of dopamine are released every time we taste something sweet. This means table sugar, honey, artificial sweeteners, and stevia. Back in our prehistoric era, we needed to consume as much fruit as possible in the summer, so our body could create as much fat as possible so we could survive in the winter. Nowadays, everything contains sugar to make it addictive. That's why I think we should consume sweet things 1 or 2 times per week. Otherwise, we might suffer side effects like diabetes or obesity. The first thing you can have in moderation every day is caffeine. Caffeine is contained in the coffee bean and the tea leaf. Even though caffeine triggers the release of dopamine, it's a very mild quantity. In addition, coffee doesn't create any hardcore side effects. In fact, one could argue that it has benefits like increased clarity and productivity. That said, limit your consumption to 1 or 2 cups per day. You don't want to end up getting anxious if you can't have a cup of coffee for whatever reason. Moving on, the first thing you can do to get healthy dopamine is socialize with other people. As you grow up and experience life, you will realize that relationships are everything. We need high-quality relationships in our life. We need to feel connected and feel as if other people care about us. We also need to know that we can help others. Get the habit of talking to others and to make space for your family, friends, and for romance in your life. The second thing you should quit forever are cigarettes. These smelly sticks can kill you, give you cancer, destroy your teeth, make you waste a lot of money, and give you the worst breath in the planet. There's no objective reason to smoke. Not only that, but every single inhale creates a dopamine release in the brain. You can't expect to recover your sensitivity to dopamine when you're smoking every single day. The second thing you should limit to a few times per week are refined carbs. This might be a personal choice of mine, but it's a fact that bread, pasta, tortillas, and anything starchy is insanely addictive. As with sugars, refined carbs consumed in excess will lead to diabetes and weight gain. Every single bite will release amounts of dopamine similar to the ones released by sugar. By limiting your refined carbs to a few times per week, you will enjoy more stable levels of energy and a better sensitivity to dopamine. The third thing is alcohol. Alcohol is one of the hardest drugs to get off from. This is because every sip of alcohol creates a release of dopamine in the brain. Binge drinking is basically the same as going on a porn marathon. Your brain releases dopamine with every drop of alcohol that enters your system. In addition, alcohol ruins your brain, liver, and overall health. That said, a couple of glasses of wine per week can have benefits for your cardiovascular health, so limit your alcohol to 1 or 2 drinks per week. The second thing you can have every day in moderation is social media. Even though I don't use social media, I think there are some benefits to it. You can find funny memes, interact with people, and follow accounts that inspire you. On the other hand, social media is addictive as hell. Every refresh, like, new message, and so on triggers a release of dopamine in the brain. If you're using social media, restrict your time on it. At least turn off notifications. Remember that you want to be using social media, not wanting social media to use you. The second healthy source of dopamine is reading. Every one of us feels good when we learn something new. This is because dopamine is released when we learn new things that matter to us. Reading makes us feel useful, smart, and capable of doing new stuff. Reading gives you the opportunity to travel inside the head of your favorite authors. It's one of the most powerful self-development tools there is. It's also a healthy source of dopamine because there's no side effect to learning new things that you like. Moving on, the third thing you must quit forever are hardcore drugs. Cocaine, heroin, meth, yada yada. These things are so addictive because they release levels of dopamine in the brain that are impossible to find in nature. Not even being in love can be compared to them. Not only that, but most of the time, getting these drugs involves violating the law or risking yourself, or even worse, even dying. Which leads us to the fourth thing you can consume in moderation. This will be controversial. I think you can have a little bit of cannabis from time to time. I won't enter into moral arguments. I prefer to talk about facts. The cannabis plant contains small molecules called cannabinoids. Interestingly, every single human on this planet contains receptors in the brain for these molecules. This is why there are so many health benefits from consuming cannabis. It's also fun from time to time. But as I said before, you don't want to depend on alcohol to have fun. The same goes for cannabis. The third thing you can do every single day to get healthy dopamine is exercise. I think this is the best example of how dopamine should be earned. Dopamine's job is to reward yourself for something good. Exercising increases your metabolic capacity, your fitness levels, and even your mental capacities. In other words, exercising literally means I'm a useful human being. Exercise freely. As long as you avoid injuries and burnout, exercise as much as you want. I love to do CrossFit, yoga, running, and volleyball. I love how I feel after every hard workout, and the best part is that working out is super healthy for my health. The fifth thing you want to limit on a weekly basis is watching too many movies and series. Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Disney+, yada yada. Nowadays, the entertainment you can find is limitless. Not only there are a lot of platforms to choose from, but there are insane amounts of content within them. All of this content is designed to keep you hooked by hijacking your dopamine circuit so you can't leave the platform and pay every single month. Entertainment is needed in life. There's nothing wrong with movies and series. The problem is when it's a compulsive behavior. That's why you should limit your consumption of them. The sixth thing you want to limit on a weekly basis are video games. We all know that video games are super cool and that's why they are addictive. Personally, I love to play FIFA, Call of Duty, and anything Super Mario related. The problem comes when I lose my motivation to work because I desperately want to play video games. Video games are fun, and they're an awesome way to connect with your friends and entertain yourself. As with Netflix, make sure that you are playing video games on a moderate basis. If you play video games every single day, you will get addicted, and remember that every addiction leads to a decreased dopamine sensitivity. The fourth thing you can do to get healthy dopamine is listening to music. Music lifts up your mood and sparks creative ideas. I'd still remember perfectly how magical it felt listening to music right after I quitted pornography. It was a burst of pleasure inside my body. The thing is that when you take care of your dopamine sensitivity, music ends up being a totally new experience. Chanting, music, and sound therapy have been part of our human history. Ancient traditions like yoga embrace sound to create multiple benefits in the human body. I think the same can be said for music, even though on a much more superficial level. By the way, if you're struggling with any addiction, I want to give you for free an amazing audiobook. It's called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, Close Encounters with Addiction, written by Dr. Gabor Mate. He is an addiction specialist, and in this book, he shares everything he knows about how to deal with any addiction. You can get his audiobook for free by signing up to your audible.com free trial with the link in the description below.